that's James's dinner. The corn will be on there later. The coleslaw has hickory sticks on it. That was James's request, and it's coleslaw made with artichoke and asiago dip.
I'll have to go get a fork.
Yep, you will. And James is going to talk about Cosmos a little more. And first, I'm going to read a poem that I wrote today called Circle Game. And we'll see if you like that at all. Oh, it's so good to sit. Seems like he's stretching out, isn't he? I don't think he was this far out a few days ago. But anyway, he must be wanting to get a little more sun, and he's coming out. And that's all right. So, yeah, we were car shopping again today, and frankly, I'm exhausted. So this is called Circle Game, and I wrote it August 13th, 2024, today. We drive away so we'll feel free and leave the city now and then, but freedom's not reality. We always just return again. And every time we do, it's worse, until each trip's no holiday. Perhaps a vehicle's a curse. I now feel trapped when we're away. Why bother going anywhere when one goes back to where one came? From there to here and here to there. I see it's just a circle game. Why play when I could stay instead? I may as well just stay in bed. And I was feeling very headachy, so I was definitely just wanting to stay in bed. I didn't want to have to go out. But James came by and he was like, hey, I'm gonna go get the bank draft and this and that and whatever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we still need to look. Anyway, so we'll see. How's the coleslaw that made that way?
It's good.
Yeah, I
hickory
liked
stick
it too.
kind of
I had a
stabbed me
little
there,
bit.
but could have been worse. It could have been McDonald's French fries.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have mine with hickory sticks. I just had it with the artichoke and asiago dip. But honestly, you can make good coleslaw from almost any dip. It doesn't have to be like sweet, normal coleslaw dressing. It can be like that, or tzatziki, or whatever. There's lots of dips that make a good coleslaw. So James is going to talk to you about Cosmos, and I'm going to shuck this corn for him so that he can, well, honestly, we have some bad luck with shucking corn. I don't think I'm going to shuck the corn.
Too
Flies are
hot.
just going to get it.
You're right.
Yeah, you may
Let
as well
them
just,
hang around now.
yeah, eat your coleslaw for a while and in between.
The
coffee.
chickadee said I can go for that or something like that.
I think he just wants me to bring him some food.
Are you hungry, Mr. Chickadee or Mrs. Chickadee?
Yes, he came right over. He's like, yeah, I'm hungry.
Well, there we go.
What are you
Yeah.
eating? You want me to bring you some seed?
Do you want food?
Okay, I'll bring seed.
There we go.
Okay, so you go ahead and talk and...
Meanwhile, I'll lecture the chickadees.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll sing to you.
Yeah, it could be. So yeah, we're going to finish up the talk or a review of the talk that Neil deGrasse Tyson did on William Herschel, and then he worked himself up into a lather talking about galaxies on the edge of the universe, 13.4 billion light years away. I think that's 13.4 out of 13.8 as they measure it. There's no end to the universe. All that comes to the idea that there's an edge to the universe, at least what we can perceive of it. Yeah, that's basically it. Comes from Big Bang Theory. If you apply the principle of Occam's razor, no need for black holes, because there's no need for photons as being a medium for light. However they picture light as being particles as well as waves. Stunningly stupid.
Where are you?
Oh, talking about chickadee, not you folks. Anyway, it ended up with almost a reductio ad absurdum. So it's like a reduction to absurdity, but that suggests that they've plumbed the depths, the absolute depths of absurdity, with universes, not just a universe or another universe inside of a black hole, but multiple universes. That's just wackazoid sci-fi / religion. This has just become a strong physics in generally, but particularly astrophysics has become a highly paid cult. It's stunningly bad. So getting back to John Herschel, he's pictured in a cartoon with William Herschel, his dad, way back maybe 200 plus years ago. He coined the word photography. That's good, John Herschel, wherever you're at in the afterlife. And then the last note I took, 1975, I mentioned this before. Fats, as I put it, it's not Fats Domino, but or Fats Waller. Minnesota Fats, was that the name of a billiard? Right? Anyway, Fats met Carl Sagan at New York, presumably Carl Sagan was teaching or something like that.
Oh, sorry, baby. I didn't mean to scare you.
Cornell University, Ivy League University, not the most prestigious Ivy League university, but
you get real butter today.
Oh, that's butter?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was cheese.
Uh-uh.
Anyway, that's awesome. Thanks for thinking of that.
I guess I should put it on there while it's hot.
I like corn so much that it doesn't. I used to love it with butter.
We don't usually eat the corn with. Well, we never eat the corn with butter. It's just that the butter was on sale at Shoppers for $1.99 a pound or whatever that is.
Impressive.
Yeah.
So this is another lecture. I can't remember which one it was. Thales, Cosmos from Chaos. But Thales was a pre-Socratic, probably as much of a natural philosopher as a philosopher. So natural philosophy is something like an old-fashioned term for what we call physics now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, unnatural philosophy is physics. So natural philosophy was physics up until Einstein, maybe, and now it's unnatural philosophy. Where really it's misosophy, it's hatred of learning. It's stunning how stupid, well, really it's not so much hatred of learning, but it is, what should be called? Misosophy? Well, it's hatred of wisdom, really, and that's what it is. Because there's lots of guys with lots of knowledge and stuff like that. There are a lot of guys, a bit like Sheldon, whatever his name is, on Big Bang Theory. They know a lot, but they're really stupid. And no wisdom. Very little. So he mentions Democritus of Abdera. He's a early Greek philosopher. Tends to be a favorite. So he thought of atoms as kind of existing in a void, wee little thing. Atom actually means not cuttable. So atom is a Greek term. And
should I bring that in?
It's okay.
I can bring it in.
Well, if you would, that would be nice too. Just she doesn't believe in feeding the flies. No. I'm not a big fan of that either. So, atom is a Greek term. Is a negative or privative or something like that. It means not. Tom means to cut, weirdly enough, in Greek. So atomic means not cut or not cuttable. So Democritus had this idea that there was a smallest particle. I guess the term is his. We call them atoms. We call that particle atom. how to remember that is tome, Tome. The English folks threw a E on the end of it. What does that mean? It means a cut, or kind of like a, in the same way you'd cut up a pie, but this thing you'd cut it up linearly. What would it be like? You know, like when someone cuts a...
what did I do to my ankles?
You might have burned them a little bit.
Well, they're dotty.
Yeah, you might have burned them or walking through weeds or something like that. But at any rate, a jelly roll. You know how you cut jelly roll?
Oh yes.
Up into slices. So really, I guess you could say a tome is actually a slice of a larger work. So strictly speaking, we think of a tome as being one self-standing volume, but a better way to look at it is several tomes, several slices of a larger work, like a tome, a big heavy book would be like part of the Encyclopedia Britannica, a volume of the Encyclopedia Britannica. So that means a cutting or a slicing. So Adam means not cuttable. So Democritus is highly considered, even nowadays, by physicists. Should he be indivisible? And I put haha. And I should have put a third one, haha. Because atoms are definitely divisible. You divide them up into neutrons, which are made out of electrons and protons, and then you can divide protons out of there. You can divide electrons spinning around the nucleus, one way or another. I think we're not supposed to imagine they're orbiting around the nucleus. I am telling you right now, what we think of as orbitals are actually, so that's supposed to be like a probability or volume or something like that, or space or whatever. No, there's, when you see sometimes old-fashioned, what are considered old-fashioned visions of what's happening with the atom, you'll see a nucleus and then a bunch of electrons going around all sorts of directions, but they're all spinning around the center. Try this one on for size. I think I might be the first person to come up with this conception. It's definitely original with me, but I might not be the first thing. The basic electrons go around the middle. And then when you start dealing with the...
like Saturn's rings?
Yeah, exactly. You get two in that so-called orbital. But then when you run across, I think it's the p orbitals, where they're supposed to be like this. What's really happening is here you got the nucleus orbital up here, orbital up here. What's really happening is spinning around, kind of like around the nucleus. Would be one here. Kind of like the rings of Jupiter, which are in the atmosphere of Jupiter, not outside, and then one down. There we go. Yeah. That's the first time you've ever thought of it that way. And then you get another orbital where they'd be going here, and here, and here. But you might not like that, I don't care. It's just a different way of looking at things. I'm not saying that's the right way. I'm saying it's original. I try to be original. So, so it's got Democritus teaching. I'd like to see if this is true. Teaching a bunch of people. And apparently he was kind of like not stuffed shirt like Plato and even Aristotle. And it has him teaching to at least one woman in the crowd. And I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. I think they're trying to make him more...
go away.
More a more attractive individual. Oh yeah, so they're saying photons take 10 million years to leave the sun.
It's not really a reflection on him, it's the culture at the time, right? I mean...
Well, what they're saying is he was better than the culture at the time.
Well, I think that's unrealistic. And
I don't know. Maybe he had women in his equivalent of the Lyceum or Academy. So, Plato and Aristotle. I can't remember. I can barely be bothered to remember which one is which. I think the Academy was Plato and the Lyceum was
I'm gonna grab some seed.
Aristotle. But it's been a hot, long day for us out shopping on foot for cars, so I'm not really thinking too clearly. So photons take 10 million years to leave sun. Photons might as well take forever because they don't exist. They don't exist. Light is a wave. It's not a particle, and it's definitely not one or the other, depending on what type of experience you're having with the light. The challenge to physicists is find out which one is which. They've already had Thomas Young figure out it's a wave. So
Nuthatches.
well, that's I think a relatively new thing. You've seen nuthatches.
Oh yes.
They seem awfully small.
I love nuthatches.
Well, they're very shy.
They are so sweet.
And they look lovely in a grayish kind of way. The photons are having trouble getting out of the sun, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and of course he'd be channeling some of the greats of astrophysics. The reason why they take so long is they're colliding with particles of the sun. They got no mass. They take up no, in other words, from what I've seen of astrophysics, and physics too, that you can put an infinite number of photons on any particular point in space. Why? Because they don't take up any space. They don't take up any volume. So how would they be colliding with particles of the sun? I guess you could say they could be interacting. I don't know if they even think of them as having a charge. Are they supposed to have a charge? They don't have a mass kind of charge or whatever. So what's that about? I don't know. So yeah. Then he gets up. This is one where some of these I fell asleep on. Now understand, I'm not going to give a review on something I've just slept on. I'll take full notes and then give you. I'll fill your ears with what astrophysicists would think is poison. But so he's holding up this thing. It looks wonderful. It looks like the kind of marble you always wanted as a kid. When kids used to play marbles, I don't think they bother anymore. Huge big thing, and it's like blue, and it's got cloudy kind of things in there. And he's holding it up here. What is the point? Oh, this was the universe. It's the size of a marble in the early Big Bang. So early. I don't know. Was he saying it was a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second? Who cares? Big Bang didn't happen. It's like a guy called Lerner wrote, "The Big Bang never happened." That's the title of his book. He doesn't understand. Lerner doesn't. He's somewhat of a disciple or apostle or follower of Alfvén. And from what I can understand, his argument is, what we're seeing with the galaxies that we see from here on the Earth is a local phenomenon, that things are spreading out, moving away from us locally. No, it's not. He looks as though he accepts the idea that light has only one Doppler shift. It has two. One is relative motion of source and receiver of the light, but the other one is motion. You could have the relative motion of receiver and light. We're going to simplify it, or source and receiver. We're going to simplify it by just saying they're stationary with respect to each other. You can get a Doppler shift one way or another, depending on the medium. What is the medium? Let me repeat for you. I had a plasma physicist do this. He still doesn't know what he discovered. The medium for light is magnetic field. Magnetic fields. So if a magnetic field between source and receiver is moving this way, here's the source, here's the receiver, then that light's going to be red shifted, the receiving end. If it's going this way towards the receiver, it's going to be blue shifted. That's what's happening with these galaxies. The majority of them we see from the Earth or from the whatever telescopes they send up into outer space and stuff like that. All that's happening is basically the Earth is slowing down stuff from most of the galaxies out there. I think those astrophysicists generally are smaller than the Earth's galaxy, our galaxy, the Milky Way. And so it's slowing down the light from these smaller galaxies. That's all that's happening, so the stuff gets redshifted. Now, let me see if I've got some more notes. Permian, Ordovician, Triassic, Cretaceous. These are some of the great dyings and stuff like that. I'm going to have to watch that one. I'm so stupid that I stopped taking notes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I conked out, but just let me check to see. I did the Faraday thing, the great dying. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this one. So he has it, 90% of all, I started it, 90% of all species died in the great dying. He calls it, it's a general, I don't know if it's original with him.
Oh yeah, you wanted to talk about Darwin.
I don't want to talk about Darwin, but someone has to say it. Jeez. Yeah, it's been a long time. When did he publish? 1859 or something like that first? What does that come out to? It's something like 150 years. Someone's got to say, like we're going to move into the 20th century. We're in the 21st century, but we've got to move into the 20th century at the very least and get away from Darwin and Darwin's evil influence. I don't use that term lightly, but it's a very strong four-letter word, and there are lots of people in the so-called humanities, the way it's been interpreted, sociology and stuff like that, they tend to be in humanities, that say they laugh when you mention the evil empire or something like that. With respect to the Soviet Union, yet you talk about Donald Trump or Calvinism or usury or capitalism or Nazism or fascism. Oh, all of a sudden they're talking as though that stuff is evil, and some of that stuff is evil. Fascism, Nazism, Calvinism, hardly. Capitalism barely qualifies as evil as far as I'm concerned, most manifestations. Not very nice. Donald Trump is, he is evil. There's no question over it. He's a tool of the Russian mafia and the tool of Putin as well. So, yeah. So there was so he's talking about the great dying, starting off with volcanoes blowing up. I think this is the end of the Permian. No. So, like the Earth would have got hit by a huge comet, probably divided up in the Earth's gravitational field, maybe in Jupiter's gravitational field, well before. It would have thumped the Earth all over the place, and hunks of a comet, when they're hitting the Earth, especially a larger comet, would set off volcanoes, set off earthquakes. They're coming in that fast. I don't think that's any great mystery or anything like that. So I'm sure there were all sorts of volcanoes going off, but there are other things. So somewhere along the line he says, we were completely cut off from our violent past. And I put in capital letters SB, but backwards. Why would it? What is that? BS. What does that stand for? We weren't completely cut off from our violent past. It's only since the so-called the Enlightenment that we've become cut off. You look at any traditions that I've ever run across, where humankind has passed on tradition from theoretical way back when. It's all violent, floods and all this sort of stuff. There are other things, not just flood, like this one from, I believe, the Amazon basin. Morning Star peed on the people, our ancestors, whatever, and the pee burned. What's that about? Doesn't seem like a flood, does it? Right? It doesn't say that people were drowned in the pee, but it burned. Does that mean it was hot? Does that mean it was acidic? Does that mean it was both? I'm not quite sure. So, 1580s. A guy called, I tried to render it. I don't think I've heard of this guy. Probably if I saw it written on books. He noted both sides of the Atlantic. So this is the 1580s, a long time ago, before I was born. No, both sides of the Atlantic kind of fit into each other. It was a long time ago, in 1580. That's less than 100 years after Christopher Columbus. It's actually maybe 20 or more years before the Brits, English, really tried to settle North America. I think that was after 1600. Check it out. But then, during World War I, a guy called Alfred Wegener, who was an astronomer apparently, I didn't know that, and a geographer or something like that, I think he said that. He said that, not Wegener, but Neil deGrasse Tyson. And so during World War I think of it as being something like 1916. Before then, scientists were going around saying, oh, the way similar species, animal species, similar fauna made it from the New World to the Old World, like let's say in Europe, for example, North America, Europe, were land bridges. And then the land bridges disappeared and stuff like that. So Alfred Wegener came up with the idea of Pangea. Pan means kind of like all, Gea kind of means earth. G-O means earth. Erg, Geo-erg, George, means earth worker, as in farmer. That's a way of remembering Pangea. But he imagined all the continents kind of glommed together at a particular point in time, and then they had a little parting with each other. But here's what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. In 1960, he comes out with his idea. I don't know exactly when he published or tried to publish. He became a laughing stock and a pariah, an outcast, right? Pariah means something like that. A laughing stock. Well, that's funny. Who gets the last laugh? Well, you know, Wegener kind of, sort of, but he doesn't get a last laugh at these people that were laughing at him, not adopting his ideas, but you know, they were in positions of power in academia and elsewhere, publishing places. You know, they should make a hall of infamy, not a hall of fame, for the major league skunks who were responsible for making Wegener a laughingstock and a pariah. We should keep a track of all these idiots, not just the idiots who were, you know, like forced Copernicus to publish at his death his work on the solar system and stuff like that, or the folks that made Galileo recant his idea that you know, Jupiter had moons and Jupiter went around the sun, you know, based on what he actually saw in the telescope. You know, those guys are skunks, and those guys should be in a hall of infamy. But scientists, these would be geologists, you know, the people who would be more than almost 2 generations crushed down Wegener's idea of continental drift. We should take, who are their names, you know, and where were they? Like, what were the institutions that were mollycoddling these stupid pukes? I want to know. There should be whole museums devoted to these idiots. Hall of infamy. Someone get on that, you know, like some of you guys that are wanting